Hello, hello. Starting a little early today because I have some errands that I need to take care of later. So, surprise, half an hour early, dev stream. Welcome to Hanelabra's Friday dev stream. Hello, SM Jake. Yeah, we're going to be working on more Steam Workshop support stuff for Sentinels of the Multiverse. Which is always exciting. So last time got cut off because the internet connection went away and did not come back for like 24 hours. So that was nice. But what we actually worked on last time just sort of worked. I was able to test it out still, obviously. And so what we did was support. I guess I don't need to be seeing my bills pop up on my stream. Or whatever other notifications were shown there. The dangers of sharing your full screen. Hey, Fosuke, thank you for the Dorito. Yeah, what we did was get variants support for variants for existing cards. And so that's now shipped. You can do that with your mods right now. And the specification for the mod format has been updated to include information about the variance hash that you need to include. And then, like, how to do it has been given in the example of the sample project as well. And we'll fully more specify the documentation for all that. In other news, Jean-Marc's been working on a lot of engine documentation, so that's going well. And Jennifer's been working on some resource documentation. So things are moving along. So what I want to do today is start getting some graphics loading. Documentation. It's coming along. And once it's at a point where we can share it, we will do that and then continue to update it. But, we want to at least have it be accurate and everything to begin with. So still be a little bit. But yeah, Seamus did some streaming of Cauldron content, and while it was all functional, it's still just like blank cards when you load it up, right? So want to be supporting graphics. So yeah, how nice graphics could be. Graphics are nice. So there's sort of two big areas. The first is the new game screen. You want a graphic for these, and also when you pull up a card in full, that's actually the same graphics that are in the game, but the graphic on this small card is actually different, right, than the real character card, in kind of subtle ways, I guess. Like if you look at the heroes, it's just different a little bit. It's not exactly the same as their regular character card. The layout's slightly different and stuff. And so that's actually a separate graphic than the regular character card graphic sometimes. And it's also like in a separate place so that for optimization and stuff like that. So there's that. And then environments have the deck back image instead, which is the same graphic, but it's in a different spot. So that's the new game screen. So if we go here and then actually start a game, we have, of course, background graphics, character graphics. Those are things that we're not going to get to today. More interested in card graphics today. So we have, the graphics are the artwork for each card, and then the full artwork for each card. And we talked about earlier, like how those are, the small card graphics are in atlases like this. And so that's what we're going to be working on, getting those loaded in and actually showing up in those places. So we're going to start with the new game screen, I think. And, well, I could start with the new game screen, could start with the regular atlases. The new game screen is, nice, but, the game view is where you actually are looking at things a lot more. So I think it's actually more valuable to be these small cards and full cards in the game view. Let's do that. So what I'm just gonna do is get a game set up with a mod character, so we can just like go, because we're gonna need that mod helper to be working. So what I'm gonna do is just create a new game with our mod villain and environment, and our mod hero, and some other hero, and our variant for bunker too. Okay. Hey, Licky. And Ibn Swarn. Alright, so we have no environment backgrounds. That's fine, but we're going to be mostly looking for the card art. Alright, I'm just going to go past the villain turn so that we have less stuff going on while we continue the game. Alright, so what I want to do is get these graphics for all these cards in. There's the hero logo as well. I'm going to just note that in the game view resources. Hero logo graphic. It's always absolute zero. We can at least make it blank. That's probably what I'll do. Okay, so let's see what we're doing here. And actually, it might be actually quicker to just like set up a test scene, but we can look at what makes up a card view, right? Let's go. This mod testing scene that I made, it actually, yeah, it uses the mod manager now, right? So I don't remember exactly what this scene does. Like, it's like just loading those graphics. Right. That's just like loading stuff off my desktop and stuff. Cool. So if we bring up, let's just bring up the card tester and look at how a card is put together. So if we pull up like Stunbolt. So there's actually 3 kind of cards sizes. So the one you see most commonly is the small card. And it's got all kinds of parts, but this sprite image is what we're looking for, right? This is the artwork for the card. It's coming from the Wraith sprite atlas, and in that atlas there are images for all of her cards, including her variants and stuff. So that's really the thing that we need. And then there's the micro card, which you see only on mobile. Actually, it might be in Oblivion mode too. In the other battle zones, I think we might use these. Can't remember if we use them, but it has a tiny square image of the card art, so it's a different crop that's used on phone. And then there's the full card, which when you right-click a card or whatever, double tap a card, it comes up, and that is similar. It has an image of the card, but that is actually, it's not in an atlas. It's a full-size sprite, or full-size texture, 1024 by 1024, that has the card art. And it has like black padding it, but it's like the full artwork. So if we can like find that file, and you can see the art. And so there's sort of 2 files, right? There's the atlas that has all the art, and then there's the card art, and then the individual files for each one. So initially we're going to focus on this small card one, because that's, I think, the most important thing for playability right now. We'll get to all of them, but that's what we're looking for. So where that stuff is loaded, UI card view is our class that controls card views. We've got a sprite for the card image, which is used for the small cards, the micro cards. We've got and a UI texture, which loads a single texture. And then there's also texture for the deck back that is separate, but usually it's only one or the other that's loaded at once. And we can see where this gets populated, primarily in the UI card view factory, which is a class that like is responsible for configuring card views. The card view class is like a lot, so mostly it's about like the behavior of the card view, and this factory is in charge of like given like an actual card, like what do we show? There's actually a lot of differences between different cards, and so it handles all the basic stuff, but then also any complicated stuff. So here, if it's a micro card or a small card, we find the atlas. And so the resource helper is a class that's able to like configure it, like, should I get this from the core game files? Is it from DLC? And so we don't need to actually change any of this stuff. We can work in resource helper to say, well, it should be able to know where the mod file is. So that's going to be the plan here. Right, so path for sprite atlas, what does that return back? Right, this is because foils are complicated. But generally this should just return back like, this is using this path. So we can actually like just map the same, like in our, I'm gonna open up like one of the DLCs and the core game are all kind of the same. So let's open up one of these. And I think we'll just make the mod paths match everything. So like Atlas folder, cutouts, like just make all these match in your mod the same way, and that'll make it easier for us. And it doesn't really matter for you where they are as long as it's consistent, right? So if we're looking up like one of Ambuscade's card, you can see this is looking up atlas / whatever the deck identifier is, atlas, and then an index, which, because if you have too many cards, if you have a lot of cards, you might need more than one atlas because they can't be bigger than 2048 by 2048. And so they typically have a 0 in the end because 0 is the first one. So this is Ambuscade's atlas. Or foil cards have their own special atlas because reasons. Unity atlas with all her cards here. So what we want to do is, we have that path, that's great. And right, where were we? Basically, we want to get this code to be like, oh, I have a mod. I'm going to built in maybe DLC or mod asset. So right, so we have this asset source enum, and so instead of this, we're gonna say there's also a mod asset source. Where did we go? I got lost. Load sprite atlas. Get final asset path. Right. So this is all trying to load it like from an asset bundle, like it's trying to load this. But what we're gonna do is like create them at runtime instead. And this actually, like, this code, like, you pass in the sprite and then it just like assigns the sprite for you. Like this code here, load sprite atlas, and memory helper sort of is more involved in actually dealing with things. So this is like loading the prefab and finding the atlas, and then setting the atlas on the sprite, and then I think back here sets the sprite name probably. Or does it? Maybe back. When do we actually set the sprite name? So much text, do I have to do that? I'm not sure what your question is. I'm doing this programming, so you don't have to do it. We set the atlas, but where are we setting? Maybe we don't. Maybe we must set the sprite atlas, the sprite name later. Right down here, sprite name equals sprite name. Because maybe there's a special sprite name. This update image for card. Right. So basically, all that code is doing is choosing the right sprite atlas. And so what we need to do is this code in here needs to be able to be like, oh, hey, let's get a mod. Get the mod thing. So, right. So here we're actually, we don't have enough information here to know that we should use a mod. So that's not great. We just have strings in here. We don't actually have enough information. At this point, we have enough information, right? Because we can check where the, like, right now it's just like using that information, but not sending it down into this. So at some point we need to get that information down to where it needs to go, which we could just like add it as a parameter to this, potentially. Our mod manager has our loaded mods, and each one has a manifest. And so, yeah, so basically we can look like, is that card from this mod? Like find the mod that the card came from, and then try to find the file in that mod, basically. Okay. So it's right here at this point where we can know that it's a mod. And then down in here, we actually don't have enough information because we only have this one string expansion identifier. And that's not enough because that's what we use for asset bundles, which we're not using with mods, which we thought we, you know, it's an idea we could potentially do asset bundles, but that would require people to be using Unity and stuff, which I don't think we necessarily need. That would be like, basically it would make it very easy for us here, but I don't think that's a good idea to put that onto people making mods right now. Okay, so just make sure everything's good there. Okay, so yeah, so just thinking about where we're going to determine that we have a mod and divert the logic, right? I wonder if does anything use this outside of here? A few things do. Like, cause guys. Guys is special. And a few animation spots. Guys. Deck backs are being loaded this way. Most things come through this, though. All the card handling goes through this. actually passes a card and not just straight up the identifiers. So basically in here, we can tell if it's a mod, right? Or we can like find the mod space. In this case, it's a variant of an existing deck. Card.owner. Mod deck. So we have that namespace of the mod, and then we can, I don't know if we want to like go right into this. I feel like we probably should. Maybe we just pass it straight into here. String mod. And right, final yeah, this isn't super necessary here. So basically, if we have that mod space specified, it's a mod. Otherwise, we use this. Logic. I think we just pass in the mod namespace into this as well. Just pass it all the way down, and then at the lowest level we can use it. I don't. Yeah, normally this doesn't actually do anything to the path unless it's in an asset bundle and we just like delete the file extension. You know what? We don't even use this extension that gets passed into here. It must have been for some other reason that we did that. Then in load sprite atlas, working on loading graphics, Skyknight 895. Card graphics specifically. All right, so all this memory handling we want to keep. Right, so load resource is, right, this is at the lowest level here where either we call, and if we're in that editor, we use resources.load, or we use asset, like we use different mechanisms. If it's an asset bundle, we use load. This is what we end up using most of the time now. But sometimes we use other methods, and we used to use other methods, so there's some legacy stuff in here. So basically down here, this needs to know about mods as well. So yeah, so let's pass in the mod space down into this load resource method. And we'll still make it optional so we can add this on sort of. Right, and so if the source is mod, so I'll still check just to sanity check that you actually passed a mod namespace. I hate how case statements get formatted. It's always a hot mess. Let's put this all in a block. It's like, why it just can't decide sometimes. Let's just do a login here. Trying to load resource from mod. Just to like see that like it gets here where we want. I guess this is like, this used to always be a texture, so it's using this. Let's call this, rename this variable because it's not actually always a texture. Okay, I want to run this and just make sure that like we're getting there. So basically if we go splash screen and continue game, we're gonna get a bunch of those calls. Which might be a bit overkill, but trying to load resource from mod. The baddie's out. Yeah, so it's trying to load. This is what we want. We want Atlas / migrant coder Atlas 0. We want, those sorts of things. Cool. And if we actually pull up Bunker, it's going to be I want to look up Bunker Atlas 0, which I don't know if we probably want to like, for the variants, we want to do something different, but I'm actually, I don't know. I don't know if I need to do that separately. Probably do. Small card art for mod variants of existing decks. Because I don't think it makes sense to like make an atlas for like your one bunker card, right? Like, or whatever. But if you have a lot of variants, maybe it's like an atlas that has all of your variants cards in one atlas. Probably makes more sense. Cool. So we're getting to that low level point where, we're down here. We have the information we need, right? We know it's a mod. We know that we're trying to get the resource from that place. I wonder if I can just format this document and. Okay, that's what it wants to do. That's what it can do. So what we need to do at this point is now go to the mod manager and say, right, here's where like asking Unity, please load this thing. Here we want to say, mod manager, please load this thing, because we don't have it. If we already have it loaded, it's going to be cached and we'll like just use it. But if we haven't, it'll get down to here. So I think we probably want to be able to call like mod manager, right, like load asset, like just literally that. Like that would be ideal. The same thing. Oh, and we need to pass like probably the namespace as well. So let's implement that. It's going to be similar to this in terms of a signature. Okay. So let's do this here. And what do we call it? Load asset. And we don't need the source. We don't need a bundle. We do going to require the namespace. It's probably. Oh, I see. What type of object is that? Unity engine.object. Sure. Null club has return value? Oh no. Okay, so basically, this is going to depend on what type of thing T is. But in any case, like, we'll want to like load. What is it actually calling here if we're calling it from load sprite atlas? Oh, I see. It's actually trying to load it as a game object, which isn't really. I guess that's what we want to create. We create it as a game object. We actually want to just create the UI atlas, right? Interesting, because normally we're like loading it from Unity, but here we're actually going to be creating it. So we might want to do that caching or stuff in the mod manager. In our mod tester, what did we do? We just like, right, we did an add component. So I guess we could just sort of do that, just add them like that. Basically, if it's a game object, then we know we're looking for an atlas. That's the only thing we use. Other things are loading like texture 2Ds. So that's the only places we know it's either texture 2Ds or game object. So I think we can do if T is game object. And let's just stop complaining here. I want to see if this is an error. Yeah, I think we need to do T as a type is equals type of. Can we check that? Type of T. Yeah. Let's just log this just to make sure we're in the right place, doing the right thing. Just trying to just sort of stay within the existing resource system that we have, and not building a whole new thing will be convenient. So. And right, we actually didn't get what we want. Let's just, oh, it's not actually calling the right thing. Let's just do this. Oh, I probably just didn't save this file. That's probably why. Yeah. Sometimes you didn't save your files. Hey, looking for a sprite atlas. Okay, so we got the right conditional there. So I think what we can do is like, basically, if we've already loaded it, because like, I'm not sure, like it's calling this multiple times on the same one. And I don't think let me just see like if there is like we record that we have like a reference counting thing on the texture. But yeah, we don't actually cache the Atlas objects because it's not like expensive to look it up every time from an asset bundle. But it's probably going to be expensive to look it up every time from the mod. So we should cache it here in the mod manager, I think. Or we could cache it up in here. Like, there's no reason not to, maybe. Well, memory-wise, I guess. But I don't super want to mess with what's going on here either. So maybe we'll put a cache in here. And look at maybe adjusting how the other thing works later. So we'll add first thing we're just going to do is do the loading up, and then we can add the caching in after. So the path that we're getting here is this. So if we look at our like mods folder, Sentinels UI, mods. So we want to have like a folder in here called Atlas. And then we want our sprite Atlas to be in here. But it's going to be like a JSON and a ping, basically. So let's try to get actual files for our thing. So let's go to our like my mod, and we'll make like a resources folder. And we'll call like, I don't know, card images. We call it like source images in our thing. Let's make some graphics. We'll just copy them from some other cards though, because I have that power. Let's just copy Unity's graphics. Yeah, source images. I'm just going to copy the same format that we use in our this is all, you don't have to do this, but it makes it easier to deal with. Migrant encoder. And what do we have? We have like 3 different cards or something. We have obviously character card. We have punching bag and worst card ever. So we have 2 cards. And then we have a variant. So let's set up these files how we need. So migrant character coder, migrant coder character. Then you have to have a file which is with back, which is the back side. We have worst card ever. Sorry, supply crate, you're the worst card ever. And we have punching bag. And we have our promo. Oh, I need to add back. I'm just copying these because they're the right size. But we can like modify them if we want. MC. Just put that on all of them so we know that we're not somehow loading Unity's deck. And these ones. Sure, I could do this with image magic, but this is quick enough. Okay, so these are the source files for my Atlas. So let's run texture packer. which is the free version. And I don't know if I want the folder name in. I don't want the folder name in there really. So let's, yeah, disable those features. I think we want to turn off, we want it to be square. Power of 2. For square. Let me just like note down exactly what I'm doing. What if I maybe I'll just write, I think I didn't type it in here. So texture, packer, settings, notes. Oh, so free version. Set size constraints to POT power of 2. Set force squared. Texture format needs to be just the I guess that's the default, but like basically these need to be those things. Yeah. Importantly, data format. Guess I can do it like this. Lab rotation I think should be off. I don't think that's supported. There should be some padding in between them or you get some weird effects. With I don't know if it's gonna matter, but it's good. Usually good to have a little padding in between because of compression artifacts that can come up if you don't. And I think that's it. So yeah, we can actually probably save this as like a TPS file. In here. I don't know if it goes in here. Maybe it's in. Well, it's fine. Let's publish it to here. Atlas. Migrant coder. Okay, so we get our, oh right, it's migrant coder Atlas 0 is what we need it to be called. So let's do that again. Oh, I want to change that. Use PNG 8. Well, it's fine. Okay, so now we have our file. This is the file that the type of file name it's looking for, migrant coder Atlas 0. We have our JSON file. We have our PNG file. So let's put that into here. And it's not going to load it, but yep, shape padding. Oh, but I probably wrote down the thing wrong. Right. Thanks, Evans Warren. It's like I did do shape padding, but that's not what I wrote down. It's like pair programming to the max. The internet is watching every typo you make. This is good. I like having some feedback. So we made our atlas. That was pretty easy. And now it's in here, and we should be able to read the file. So let's crib our code from the Visual Studio Live Share. Do you see the Visual Studio Stories is a thing? Like, you can have like a little window with like little circles of what people are programming. Someone made it on a lark and then sold it to someone who's trying to put it on Kickstarter. I don't know how the Kickstarter is doing. Yeah, there's the old one and the new one. Ben Awad on YouTube. It's pretty funny. Kind of an entertaining coder. How's the Kickstarter doing? I don't imagine very good. No, it was got $184 and was canceled. I mean, it started as a joke. It still kind of remained a joke. So I don't know why someone thought that it was going to be a valid business idea. To prove that it's more than a joke. Yeah, I don't know about that. Good luck. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, yeah, you can. What happened if you watch the video from the original maker? Some people just like figured out the API and started posting porn on it instead of actually what it's supposed to have. Just frustrating, I imagine. So, all right. So let's get back to this. So we don't want it to be our my mod anymore. I put that stuff in the repository, but the Visual Studio project won't even know about it because it's the graphics. It's unrelated. It's related, but not required, I suppose. Cool. So we want to look for the texture, look for the JSON, set up the UI atlas. Right. So actually, it's interesting. This is expecting a game object back. Oh, it's not. It's, yeah. Interesting. It's expecting a game object and then getting the component off of it, which is interesting. We could do it a different way if it's a mod. Probably it's a little weird to do that, but we can instantiate a game object, I suppose. It's not the end of the world. It might be easy to track what's going on as well. So let's where's our, yeah, let's put these files next to each other. Mod manager and mod tester are the things we're going to be looking at. So yeah, right. This we have a load PNG function. That seems helpful. I'll just make that private. And right, we make a material, we make, oh right, I see. Okay, so what we need to do is like actually make that path properly, right? So we need to find the mod that goes with the namespace. Yeah, we probably want a helper function for that. Just like that. Pretty simple, but and check to see if we actually have it. Look for the texture. So yeah, we need the texture. If we don't have the texture, we can't do anything. Or the JSON, we don't have anything. So we need to try it out. So the texture path is going to be Right. This should be probably something like private. I guess it can be public. Public const string mod or root path. Root folder. Instead of being like that. So the path in the mod, path.combine, come on. The actual like mods, do we not keep that? We probably didn't keep it in the object. I need to take a break for a second. Got some maintenance people coming, so hang on a second. Hello. Sorry about that. They're doing some fixing of our water. But they are out for a bit, so I'll see if I can get some work done while they're until they come back. Okay. So we need this mod thing to like remember what its name is. Let's call it name. And we can just pass that in. Yeah, and then where this is loading the mods, it needs to pass that in. Okay, so now we can use root folder mod.name. Can you like just keep adding things? I guess not. So the texture file should be file dot or path dot extension. File name with, yeah, we need to change the extension of the path to PNG. Seems like they're working on stuff, so I'm just gonna go check to see how things are. 1 second. All right. So the path of the file we're looking for is going to be the mod path and the texture file, right? So let's do this. And do a null check. Okay. So that should be loading the texture file. And look for the JSON file. And this, we'll probably make, yeah, we'll make a helper function for that too, right? Maybe. Is that? Yeah, that's kind of a lot to put into something else, so. Oh, I see. Let's see if we can load this. Throw an error log. Okay. Let's try this and just make sure we're on the right track. Could not find texture file. Oh. We have doubled up our path here, which means our mod name is getting that string into it, which we don't want. Right, probably this got a mods. Yeah, that includes. That's including the whole thing. So let's do this. Path dot. Get directory name. Just want to get like the directory name of the mod and not the full path for this. Let's try that. Hey, oh wait, we don't know if we did the right thing yet. All right, we're still putting in the wrong thing. What if we do get file name? Let's do this. And I guess I could include that folder just in the name of it, but I'd rather not. Rather just get that separated out, right? Yeah, now it's just that without the mods prefix. It should get us to loading those textures. Yeah. Right, so we got an error about the villain one, but not about the migrant coder. So that's good. So let's go and load the JSON up. So yeah, basically we want to look for the JSON file and we just want to do all this code basically, right? So maybe what we want to do is have this load sprite atlas JSON and pass it the atlas like that. Maybe Boolean for like success or failure. This. Pass in the path. Guess we can do like if file dot exists. Just return like success from this. Yeah, and if we get like down to here, we succeeded. And here we can check if the JSON is not null, because if it's null, that means the parse failed. Can throw. we can actually throw a log in here. This doesn't really need to be load texture file. Maybe just load texture. Cool. Okay. So, I mean, exist is always, this is always false. I think we just like copied in some code. Whatever, we can update that. Doesn't really do anything. Yeah, to do account for rotated stripes. We're not going to do that. So this code, we sort of just can maybe clean that up. Load sprite atlas JSON. Right, we need like our JSON path. Right, let's just sort of copy this. JSON. We don't have an atlas variable yet. Okay, so we need to make the atlas. Basically like this. I guess we need to do this sort of all. Like if we fail to load the texture, we don't need to keep going. So let's put this in here. Let's put this in here. I think we need to make a new game object. I guess I could like include an atlas component, like make a prefab for these and then just like have it be blank. So we can do that. Looks like they're doing stuff with our water. So what I'm going to do is make a make a folder in here. Mods. And basically just like an empty game object, which is like a mod atlas. Can I not add a UI? Oh, because UI atlas is like atlas? Oh, I see. Right. If we make a prefab out of that, and then our mod manager can have I guess we can let's just make it a game object. Atlas prefab. Assign that. Maybe. Yeah. And then so we can instantiate the Atlas prefab and give it to put it on ourselves. And do that. Cool. So this should do it. Yeah, so just do this. Return result. And then if this is all works, then result is that. We just have to like force it to be correct. Because it's looking for the game object that has the atlas on it, which it will. And I think we'll name this object as well. Let's just call it after the path. Just so we can see what's going on. So this, assuming that this JSON loading and stuff still works, we should be good. Let's try it. And then we can add like actually managing those game objects and cleaning them up and stuff like that. Otherwise they would stick around forever. Not forever, but well, forever you're running the game and they'll do duplicates of them and stuff. Okay, so let's go continue game. All right, so could not load. Right, so we loaded that. We got an error here. Let's check our mod manager. Oh yeah, so we have these atlases and we have the sprites, but it was not happy about it. So something is, it's obviously loading them up here, right? It's loading up multiple copies because we're not caching it and not looking it up and being dumb about it. But we just wanted to get it to work, right? So where are we getting to that we couldn't actually find the sprite? So if we return back the right value from this, it's in memory helper where we were, right? So here, oh, we're not actually returning it. This happened to me last time, didn't it? It's just creating it and leaving it into the wind. It's getting cold. I can close the window. It's relatively warm out today, though, so get some fresh air. OMG graphics! Look at these graphics. The worst card ever. I forgot to put a deck back. We'll add that in. I'm in Canada, but it's like 13 or something today. It's warm. $12 right now. Hey, all good? All right, let's take a look. Hooray, we have water to take. I mean, we had water in our other sinks, but the handle on our shower was broken, so we couldn't actually use it this morning. But it is all good now. Yeah, even sworn. I am in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So in other news, we have mod artwork showing up. Is that exciting or what? Come on, let's get a round of applause. Let's add a deck back image in there. Forgot that. So in our source images, we'll call it migrant coder deck back, and then our TPS report. I guess this, I wonder if instead of this, put the folder in. Is it going to like name trim sprite names? Oh yeah, just don't prepend the folder name, I think is what we want. Let's publish it and see what it came out with. Oh yeah, it's fine. Deck back, okay. So let's put this in. And when we run it again, we should see the deck back too, because I want that. Oh, we didn't see the deck back. Did I not update the file right? It's there. I wonder if that might be looking at a different atlas or something. I'm not totally sure. Or I might have spelled it wrong. Migrant coder deck back. Okay, well, we'll worry about that later. Obviously, I don't want it to be loading the atlas like a million times. It's redoing work, and it shouldn't be doing that. So let's hold on to those. Like this, maybe. Game object. Loaded atlases. So here first we can just like look up, right? So the key, let's just do like a like this. And then we can just do like game object obj, and then we can do loaded atlases dot try get value. So if we already got it, we can just use it. Put all this code inside that. So it only loads it up once. And basically get rid of it. Okay, so we'll remember that. I don't like that we're doing a bunch of extra work if we fail on one of these steps, but you know, it's not, basically if your thing isn't working, you're gonna fix it, right? So it's not the end of the world. So let's run that, and we should only actually load that once, and then all of them can use the same one, which is what you want to do. Right, so now we just have a single one for migrant coder. I don't know why this must be using, I think this was using a different method, right, for loading the atlas, which is why it's not, like if we had a face down card, it would probably be fine. It's the deck back thing here is using another method. But that's pretty cool. We've got our, and we don't have the full card textures yet, but we have the atlases showing up. We've got a dynamically loaded atlas in the mod manager here. We've got just one copy of it. If we like go back to the main menu and resume, it doesn't like clear it, so that's a problem potentially, but at least it's not like gonna reload it. So there's some memory management we'll still need to do, but this is sufficient for like testing out your stuff for sure, especially on Steam where like, oh well, you're using more memory, it's not the end of the world. When you're on mobile, things like that are more important. Cool, so that's very nice. So just want to clean up this code a little bit, see what it's doing. So we're looking for the frames. Right, this is just always going to be happening. We don't need that exists variable. We don't care about the rotation value because we're not supporting rotation. And then this is the logic that we need. So cool. Okay, so that is tidied up. Right, an unload asset is complaining because we don't actually, there's that memory management is like complaining about it because we don't actually have that run recorded. Which I guess we would just like pass that over to the mod manager. So that's pretty cool. All right, I never actually, let's make this named after the key so it at least like shows the mod namespace in it at least. Which will be helpful for testing for me, not really for you, because you don't get to see that, but I get to see it. Yeah, so I get to see that it's workshopping, at least. Cool, so that seems pretty rad. So I'm going to commit that stuff, because that's, I think, a very useful step. So add support for loading small card atlases from mods. And let's call it initial support. So that's cool. That's our small cards, just like working. And basically the other types of resources, we're just going to sort of go in any place that it's not handling it in Memory Helper, we're going to handle it. So I guess we could do that deck back one maybe, because the deck back is calling like a more direct thing in Resource Helper, I think. We saw when we were like searching for who's using, so whoever's using this load sprite atlas, we need to make sure that they, so it's, I got a Reddit post. Don't need to have the volume on there. Even Sworn asks, do I also program on all the company's other properties? Yeah, I'm the lead developer on all the projects. So load sprite atlas, right, we saw that that was used, the other direct one is being used by UI deck, whereas this is being used by the card factory, and so on. So this version, That one's being used for guys. This one is being used for Oblivion specifically. This one's being used for guys, speech bubble specifically. This one is being used for the deck. And so this one is not being used for that. So we can actually pass in just like the turntaker.namespace directly here. Yeah, this is calling this version mod space. Why are you like this? Right, we'll just pass that directly in. So that should actually make the deck back work. Licky00, yeah, I mentioned adding mods as DLC to mobile. Yeah, so that's something that will work out in the future. It could be something that is paid DLC, in which case we would have a deal, figure out a deal with the mod makers for something that's fair in terms of revenue split. It could end up being a free DLC. That's a thing you can do as well. So there are different options that could be done, and that would probably depend on what the particular mod maker wants to do, what Greater Than Games wants to do. Like Greater Than Games has sort of a similar situation with the Cauldron and drive-through cards on the tabletop, where like they have a deal with the Cauldron maker where you can get printed Cauldron officially, semi-officially, and there's some, I don't know what their revenue share is, but they have a deal. So we could look at that as kind of a potential model. Hey, there's our old deck back. We didn't put our little thing on it, but that's what it is. We can look at the sprite here, and it's loading make sure it's loading the right sprite. Yeah, Migrant Coder deck back. Cool. All right, so maybe we'll just throw that as a quick commit, or we'll just like amend the previous commit to include that. Cool, so we've got the small cards in the deck back showing up already, which is nice. That worked really well. So I'm gonna check that off the list. Small cards. I think full cards are the next important thing. So let's set up full card art for our Migrant Coder. So full cards are loaded more directly using the full card texture here. So here you can see we're going to load full card texture in the resource helper, and that is going to call load texture. And similarly to the other thing, it's like getting the path. It's very similar to the other code, and so we need to have it support mods as well. And eventually we end up down at memory helper, where we try to load the graphic. It's actually the same thing, right? Like, so instead we're going to be calling mod manager on it. And so in this code up here, basically, else if type of t is type of texture 2D, we'll just do this. And maybe we'll just do log error. Looking for something we don't handle. Cool. So we just basically need to do the same thing, right? Is all the places in memory helper and resource helper, they need to be able to say like, look for a mod in this case. So we changed like these things. I guess load sprite atlas specifically was changed to pass in the mod namespace. So We can work from the bottom up here, maybe. So here where we're calling load resource. Oh. It's like here. So these things need to have a mod space. And it needs to be passed in to these places. We'll put it in even these places that are using foil. I guess I'll just like everywhere this load resource is being called. Let's make sure that we can get the mod information down. I guess it's literally just these two places. And this may as well pass the mod space as well. I don't know. The foil stuff is probably not going to actually work, but it's more of a nice to have for later thing. Okay, so what calls the thing that calls load texture? This is interesting. This is just directly calling resources.load. This is never actually used anymore. Just deleting this. And that's still used. Right. Because this is actually, the async version is used for various things. We'll have to modify that, but it's not used for card art, so let's use the synchronous. Let's just do the synchronous version here. This is called by resource helper. Right, we first try a JPEG, and then if it fails, we try a PNG only in the editor, just for whatever reason. This needs to be taking the mod space parameter and passing it through. I think. Yeah. We need to do the same thing as the load sprite atlas. So let's just go to that, where basically we do this, right, and then we pass in the mod space. Sort of a similar change. Okay. And then we pass in the mod space into there. And I mean, this shouldn't be necessary. Yeah, I don't think that code ever gets executed. So I'm not going to even, it's only happening in the editor. And yeah. I don't know why. I don't remember why that's even there. It's been a long time since this code has been changed. Okay, so what calls this? A lot of places call this. All these resource helpers are the main ones. Right, or the internal calls, I guess. So, because this is in resource helper. So the main one is the card, where the card view factory is trying to load the full card texture. And so, yeah, this is calling that, and we need to pass in the mod namespace there. It might be helpful to have like a helper property on card that just like finds the namespace if it has one. It might be helpful to have a couple different helper properties on those. So I'm gonna go and add those in because I think that's probably a good idea. So let's go into Sentinels engine and add those. So basically on card.cs. So card.cs, card doesn't have any information about being a mod or whatever. Just gonna add a couple convenience properties to this. I think is mod content is going to be helpful. Basically, this dot definition dot, and actually, even more than that, I want these things to have a helpful property. Is mod content. And the same thing on turn taker. Then the card can just check those instead of having the other check. And this can return. Or this dot owner is mod content. This might be a little weird. Is there an owner? Original owner? There's like parent deck is like the original owner, like, but you can change the owner of a card, right? I kind of want there to be a way to know the original owner of a card, because the owner gets changed, like due to a mission reward or something like that. We don't want this to start returning true for mission rewards. That's why we usually would use parent deck. But that's not right now. Coming back as saying that it's mod content. So I'm wondering if we should change that around a little bit. We probably also need to check if the owner is null. When does owner get used? Probably a lot, but yeah, a little bit. I wonder if it makes sense to record the original owner. Like that's initially set like here and recorded in the model. So if we just record it here, then it probably is useful to know that, like in general anyways. So I'm just gonna add, this is a model change, but it's adding something new. It's not too bad. Just a new reference that never changes. And then the mod content, can check to see. Check this. And then we can also add mod namespace maybe. this. Okay. Guess that can be just... I kind of want it to not be the exact same because it's not actually recorded in the model like the other things. Let's do that. And that's just going to be really helpful for like checking stuff. And let's build it for the UI. Okay, and back to Unity. Compile. All right, so where were we? Yeah, like a place like this. Right, we want the place that calls this, which is resource helper. So we can just like literally just pass it in here, right? Like card.mod namespace, and it will just be null if it's null. Then we don't have to do any like checks. We can change our load sprite atlas. Like instead of this code being everywhere, like we can literally just put card.mod namespace at the end. And then all these other places where we check is string null or empty, we can replace maybe. Because, yeah, so like if card.isMod content, return true. I guess then we could just do like return, do an or shortcut. Isn't that nicer? That's nicer. And here we can say d.isMod content, right? And so on. Oh, I thought I got rid of this. Oh, I was using it to search. Here as well. Right, so here we actually want to check card.original owner. I mean, the character cards don't move around. That's okay. Then we can check this. Yeah, that's nicer than just having those string null or empty checks being littered around. Okay. Then we can just directly use that. And that might just let us try to load JPEGs now in the synchronous form. Let's see. We don't have any files there, but we can see if it's trying to do it. Alright, so if I pull this up, yeah, I'm not seeing any sort of logging attempt for that. Oh, we failed to load everything. I definitely broke something. Oh, because my save game is not using the original owner, which is not, it's not going to be compatible with existing save games with mods, which is fine. I'm not worried about that right now, so let's make a new save game. We'll still bring the baddies. And migrant coder. And our variant. Yeah, because we changed the data model and that property was not populated in those files. But we're not worried about that really because like there are no existing save files that matter for mods. They're just in development right now, so I'm not worried about backwards compatibility for something that's not released. Cool, so we get in here and I'm still not seeing it trying to load that. So let's see, step in and make sure that right, we're looking for load full card texture. Calls into load texture. Calls into load texture. Calls into here. Should call into here. This should never happen. I don't think this is where we are. Empty. We're not even getting into here, so that's what I'm seeing. Just want to make sure we're getting into the code that we can start putting in. Yeah, so we might have to either debug or put some logs in to see what's going on. I guess we're not loading a lot of full cards, so let's just debug this. Oh, but I can't debug it because of weird unit errors. Can I not? What is it? The errors aren't real. Fine. This is why I don't rely on debugging. Okay. this. I wonder if it is using the async. And I'm missing that. That could be. Oh, okay. It's trying to load card. And that's the path that it's looking for. Okay. So let's just make sure that we have the mod. Mod space. So assuming we do, we get in here, we get to memory helper, load texture. So let's throw a login for that as well. We're getting caught somewhere. I'm not sure where. So assuming we get into here, we call load resource texture 2D, right? And then this should call in to here. Oh, this is if it's foil. No, but this is before, right? So where are we going? Why aren't we getting to where we want? We're working on graphics loading Dire Avenger. We have small card graphics loading pretty nicely. And full cards are what we're looking at right now. As you can see, got some art loaded up here. So if I try to pull this up, we got this, we got this. So like, what? All right, I need to go use the bathroom. This doesn't make any sense. BRB again. All right. Honestly, I would like to debug into this, but it will not allow me to do so. Unless I can add, just like add a reference to system.runtime, which there's no references here. It's just like a solution with no project. Somehow. Anyways, So we're getting into memory helper load texture. We have our path. It's correct. We have our namespace is correct. I mean, I assume that we're not passing a null texture. That makes no sense. Like, I'll log it just in case, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, we should be going into this code. And we're going into here. We should be getting to this. Like, just in case. Make sure I'm not going crazy. Sometimes I am. We should be seeing that new log pop up a whole bunch. Yeah. That's fine. So when we pull up the full card, we get into load resource. And on, like, the source has to be right. Mod, did I not set that? Right. Here's the thing that calls this here. It's recompiling. Doesn't like that. Yeah, we're setting the source here. Losing my faith in humanity. And logic. Just a typical day programming, though. The source is asset bundle. How did that get set to asset bundle? We literally came through this code path where the source is being set to mod. Oh, is this thing is changing it on us. All right, this is going in. This is going in here. We're just not having foil for mods right now anyways, because it's making me angry. All right. Trying to load the resource from the mod. Looking for a texture. That's a lie. We're not actually looking for it yet. But now we can, finally. Oh my goodness, all these extra logs that don't do anything. They do clutter up everything a lot, so we're going to comment them out. So in Mod Manager now, we can actually, like, this is pretty simple, right? Literally load the file. And actually, we can move some of this stuff up out because this is going to be used by, like, other things. can do this. We can like put this. Like if we don't find a mod for this, we don't actually have to do anything else. So. So all this can go like in here. These errors shouldn't happen, but you know, things happen. So here we're looking for a texture. So texture should be JPEGs. So we're going to do that. And low texture, yeah, just that's like the answer. We could like have it try a PNG instead. But it should be JPEGs. Then we can just like return it. Cool. So that's going to try to load that. And then we can do like a final. Just like. Maybe we'll do this. Like. It's a warning. If it's a. Warning if there's no JPEG and error if there's no PNG as well. So let's run that and we should see those. Because for these large files, they really should be JPEG. Atlases typically are PNGs because they might have transparency. Card art doesn't, but in general, sprite atlases can, so that's typically a better format. But for most card art will compress much better as JPEG, I think. But we can support both. So let's continue the game and try to load a file. It'll fail, but it should fail in the way that we want. Yeah, texture file missing. So it's looking for large card textures, microencoder, worst card ever.jpg. Yeah, we can actually get a bunch of errors, which is fine. Okay, so let's grab full-size graphics from these cards. Right, so we want a folder called large card textures. Maybe the source images I'll put like here, because these actually don't end up in your package. Large card textures, migrant coder, and then we need our files. We have, I think it was supply crate and SwiftBot were our stand-ins. We've got Unity and the deck back and these. All right, and this is migrant coder character. I don't remember remember the other thing's worst card ever was. Punching bag was that. Swift supply crate was the worst card ever. This was whatever my variant's name was. Just gonna go in. Crib it. Copy and paste, developer's best friend, but you gotta be careful with it. Know what you're doing with copying and pasting. Okay, those are all those files. And so I'm gonna basically put these directly in here. We're not making an atlas like here. These are directly in here. And you can see these are actually JPEGs that are padded out so that they're the right size, 1024 by 1024. And character cards are padded on the right like that, and card art is padded on the bottom. This is all going to be documented. Jennifer's working on the documentation for exactly how this should work. I guess I can like mark these up too, but maybe I won't bother right now. Let's just try seeing if we can load them. All right, so let's continue game. Hey, look, art. No deck back though. That again is trying to look at the asset bundle for some reason. Probably, I wonder if that's just a different call that's not calling the right thing. We got the flip side. So we got artwork loading, which is great. Let's put our little like markers on them just to make sure it's more super clear that it is our artwork. I'll probably replace these replace these files before I push them up. You know what? I'm sure it's fine. Preview, what are you doing? Okay, so that's cool. That's loading in those graphics. I don't know why the deck back isn't working. What is preview even doing? Why are you trying to launch and you like failed and now you're just bouncing forever? Whatever. Cool. Let's get the deck back loading. So what's that being called from? Probably it's using this full card deck back texture instead. It's using this is not passing the thing. So if we do that, it will start doing it. We have cutouts. That's more graphics to load. But let's see if we can get all the cards loading for us. So we'll look at this. We'll flip it over. Hey, there it is. Cool. And those we don't need to worry about like this stuff because it just loads the texture and it already handles loading a texture properly. So Atlas is just a little different in terms of how it's normally specified. So that's pretty cool. We have card graphics loading in. So I'm going to save the changes. So basically we add original owner field, our serialized property to card. Get it on Steam. It'll be, working on another update with some more bug fixes, so it should be out soon on Steam. Hopefully early next week. So I'm going to push those changes to the engine. Let's just say this is an update DLL commit. And yeah, here basically is our changes to load things. There's some noisy logs in there, but they're not too noisy. We'll quiet them down later. We're still working on stuff. So support loading full card textures for mods. Cool. Rolling right along. So I think while we're on a roll, we should do character cutouts too, because those are basically loaded the same way as full cards, roughly. They're using this. So like, I'm just gonna go into all these calls, need to just pass the mod namespace, right? Maybe. These are being passed definitions, but this one is not. Basically, if we start passing in the namespace, it will start loading it. This one isn't taking. I wonder where this is used in the deck browser. So we actually don't care about that because mods are not going to be in there. So this is probably, yeah, used in like the entrance animation and stuff. Right, load texture async is not being supported, but we can add that here. Basically, I'm just like hooking up all this stuff I just did to all these other helper methods. And maybe things will just work. Ending textures. Yeah, environment texture is a whole other thing. I just want like hero characters right now. Yeah, some of these are not like, they're not using like an actual card, so it's going to be harder to tell if it's actually a mod. You might have to go in and add some more stuff in the low levels. We can add in support for the async loading maybe? I'm not sure. I think if we just start now, it should be trying to load the character cutout. So I think there's a lot more to this section because there's a lot of different ways that it loads these type of graphics. But we can see where we go. I think having the cards load art is like super good. So yeah, so here's where, yeah, it's trying to load the cutouts. So we just like put those files in there. It might just work. So let's go cutouts. Let's just like put the files in here for now. Cutouts, heroes, migrant, coder, and then so like all the different files. We'll just copy all of Unity's. Oh, she has so many effects. It's okay. I think there's a thing where I can just be like rename files. Unity, migrant, coder. Yay. All right, those are the main cutouts. Then there's a start of game cutout. Let's just try seeing what all works. Heroes, Unity. Not bothering with the variant right now. Rename, the same thing. And then yes, no dialogue. is its own folder for some reason. We decided one day. I think basically because, I don't know. We decided for one day to do that. I don't know. Rename. Oh, I can't use this special thing with that. All right, so that should, and then we have like deck browser is like their bio and vitals. Special endings are a thing sometimes. Like Silver Gulch has a special graphic if you lose to Silver Gulch. But then the main graphic for the ending. Environments have their graphics. We'll get to those. And of course, music. But with these files, with these names and the changes I just made, maybe we'll get some cutouts for Migrant Coder. That looks like Unity for some reason. Hey, look. Totally Migrant Coder. And we can confirm if we grab that. Well, we can confirm because the graphics are showing. Missing Migrant Coder character hero turn. Oh, because it's a ping, I think, right? Yeah. So some of these files in our system are PNGs, so that's why it's. Maybe I'll just like. Do. Let's just do this. If file.exists. We don't need to worry about it. Make a little more graceful loading here without having a bunch of errors. Looking good though. Oh yeah, and actually I don't know why it's like yeah, basically some textures are going to be JPEG, some are going to be PNG, so we need to look for both. I think that other code that was talking about like switch to PNG is because like in Unity you can just like pass the file name without an extension and you get it. So here we'll look for JPEG first. If we find it, we'll use it. If we try, yeah. So it's actually not an error to do that. Because obviously the cutouts have to be PNGs. They need transparency. They can't be PNGs. So, or sorry, can't be JPEGs. So if we find a JPEG, we'll load it. If not, we'll try for a PNG, I think is the strategy. It doesn't really matter. We'll load, just don't have both or things will be weird. There's no reason to have both. All right, so we're only showing errors about the baddies and the dev stream and whatever. And right, Wayward Bunker, we were looking for that file. That's fine. And yeah, so it's looking for the cutouts for everything, and the only one we put in was the Migrant Coder. But it's loading up. And so we've got our graphics loaded here. And that, assuming everything is there, it should load the villains, it should load, it might even load the environment backgrounds. I don't think so, actually. It's not doing that right now. So I'm just going to commit this, though, as like initial support for... Oh, yeah, I wanted to check if the yes-no dialog was loading. So if it is, that's easy peasy. And we need it to be not Migrant Coder's turn. Because that's also used here. So yeah, cool. Okay, so initial support for cutout graphic loading. Cool. So that is pretty good. I would say those are working in the game view now. I'm going to add another thing, which is game intro resources. Because those are using the cutout images. Those are using the cutouts, but loading them asynchronously and stuff. This should be working for the full size now, because we can verify that by popping in there to look at this. Yeah, that's loading up. So, oh, right. And it's like, oh, there's no, I guess like it's just trying to load the foil. So maybe that will work. I don't know. I'm not going to probably worry about that right now. We'll get to that or disable it or whatever. Figure that out. Cool. Just going to sit back a little bit. I've been leaning forward for some reason. We are getting this error because we are trying to unload a thing that is not actually this is being called, when is this getting called? Unload texture on destroy of something, I guess. Yeah. Not the end of the world, but something we need to look into, the memory management. Maybe I'll add a... Yeah, so this is, I mean, that's sort of part of what this is. They're not being unloaded after, so I guess that's covered there. We've got the hero logo graphic that is out of a sprite atlas presently. So I think probably what we'd want to do for that is a little different. I'm just going to go over some of these things. So the hero logos are under game view. Yeah, there's like a set of atlases here. Oh yeah, preview's not working for some reason. It looks like this. And so you can, it just like chooses one of the sprites out of there. And it's actually different for variants. Sometimes slightly different, so it varies. So each variant has one, even if it's the same. Like these two Fnatic ones are basically the same. Maybe there was a black text, I don't know. They're sort of split up by season so that they stay in a smaller, they need to stay in a smaller size. And we have a list of the atlases that we can like look through to find the right one. So I think probably what we want to do for that is basically one sprite atlas for your mod with all your logos. Like, or, whether you have one page or two or whatever, like basically have that be by mod instead of like trying to construct it or something like that at runtime. Environment backgrounds, I guess we could start looking at that right now. Music should be pretty straightforward. Right, and mod variants of existing decks, which I think was trying to load Bunker's art. Though small card art's definitely different there. Similarly, in the new game screen, there are separate atlases for the new game screen. So we don't have to load like all of the hero character cards. we instead have a separate atlas that has the artwork. And so I think each mod shows small graphics, I guess. Each mod should have a sprite atlas with these. So like basically one atlas similar to the logos where it will have all of these. And we can use that in the new game screen. So yeah, those things are kind of interesting. I think the environment backgrounds might be the next thing I want to do. Probably only have about half an hour left before I have to go. But that's pretty good progress already for today. Basically being able to load up those artworks. So that's going to be really good for mod authors to be iterating on that. And we'll be, I'd like to be able to obviously provide documentation for that. And so, because the code is like, you can figure it out, right? But the trying to like figure out by trial and error what files the game is trying to load would be a pain in the butt. So let's see. I'd like to get that out on Steam next week, and with at least some initial documentation of like, what are the files you need and what are the formats and whatever. We can see if we can put some environment backgrounds in though. I think those are probably being loaded. They're not, it wasn't trying to load them from the mod basically. So let's see where those are coming up. There is basically a call to get environment texture or something. Environment panel texture. And I think these are always async because it wants them to sort of load in and not cause the game to stick for a while. Yeah, initialize backgrounds. Try loading the texture, and if it failed, then it like uses the color background instead, which is why that's what we're seeing. Right, so we can just say pass in. Oh, right, but this method doesn't support namespaces yet, so we need to do that. We'll make it optional for right now. So let's pass in. Oh, we're in the wrong one. We want environment panel texture. Environment.mod our namespace. Okay. And in here, so very similar to what we had before, we need to set the source. Just like modifying all these things that sort of have a similar structure, but they're not exactly the same. So yeah, and this final asset path just doesn't, I guess we could have probably like just passed mod space to that. I don't know. It's kind of nice to be a little more specific and not even try to load asset bundles or whatever. And then load texture async needs to support having a mod namespace. All right. Right. Again, this is only in the editor, but I think that's only because of weird editor things. So we're not going to touch that. So this, right. Where's our other one? Here. So this is the synchronous version. And this is the asynchronous version. This one only works on textures, not on other things. We can say async load resource from mod. Right, and that's why this is all called text. Because we only do it for texture 2Ds. And here we could just like we just do it synchronously and cheat, but I guess we could try that and it should work. But we should implement it asynchronously. Instead of cheating. But if we do this, it should like try. And it should work, but then it won't actually be asynchronous. So that's not what we want. But we can I want to see if we get like a bunch of errors about. Yeah, so it's trying to find, it's trying to find the environment background images. So let's put some in there. We need a folder called environments. And the environment is called devstream. And we'll just steal some Silver Gulch files. And these are like big JPEGs. These ones are 4096, but I think they should be 2048. I don't. One of these was the newer ones are much bigger. They shouldn't be this big. They should be 2048. Let's just make sure they're not too big. Yeah, I think it was just the newer ones that were added for Oblivion were too big. These other ones were already smaller. Okay, so now they should load. We should see Silver Gulch backgrounds that we are borrowing for this purpose, for testing. Look at that. Very cool. So they all loaded, but we are cheating, right? Like, this is meant to be asynchronous loading, and we're just like, we're going to do it synchronously. So I don't know how to do that. Unity. Read texture file async. You can use Unity's web request. File stream read async. So you just like give it a file path. Or you could load it in a thread. I mean, I don't mind using the Unity web request. This is the old Unity stuff. Slightly mad. Async texture reader. appropriate. It seems slightly mad. Yeah, I think Unity web request with a file URL might be appropriate. Let's see. So what we would need to do is have mod manager have an yeah. It needs to be like a coroutine, I guess. Right, we basically need to have a pass back a Unity web request. So many requests. Resource request, asset bundle request. Yeah, so using Unity engine.networking, I think. I don't know if I want to return the web request or the async operation. Load texture async. I don't know if this doesn't get you. No, it does return the one that created. So we can return, right, so we can this can yield. You can yield on that. So this should be a new Unity web request. Texture? No, that's not an actual. Oh, interesting. So I wonder if I can Unity web request texture dot get texture. It's just request dot. How do we get the operation thingy? I haven't used Unity web. We use it somewhere else in here. It's not a thing I use a lot. Request dot something. Send. Guess we just return it. Okay. And we just put one of these. And it's just going to load that texture every time. So request equals mod manager.instance dot load texture async. Yield return request. Request dot. I guess that's operation. Operation dot web request. How do we get the data? How do we use use it. I guess this is download handler. Okay. Dot. Okay. I wonder, I mean, yeah, I guess we have to yield on something, don't we? All right, let's add the using. We already have a texture, right? So we can do like if operation dot is complete or is done or whatever. That's fine. So this should load, in theory, that graphic off my desktop for all the all the environment textures instead. And then we'll add some parameters into it. And it should properly go async and not block. Make the loading screen work better, basically. Oh my gosh, skies is everywhere. Hey, it worked. It worked just great on the first try. So we need to like take some parameters, obviously. Basically these parameters. And do the same thing. We also want to like look for the same thing, like basically this code, but without, yeah. So let's just modify this code here. Check this, make sure whether it's a JPEG. Right, and we need to like look up the mod and everything as well. Okay, so this stuff. Right, so here we want I guess we can just like sort of look at one or the other, I don't know. So if we find a JPEG, we want to do this. I don't know, we'll just do this. What we can just do is if not file exists, we'll look for try PNG. That's better. Maybe. Yeah. then we can do this. Kind of funky. So then if the file exists, we can actually look it up. Full path equals path.get full path. File / plus full path. It might have to be escaped. I don't know if it needs to be escaped. And then this can just be return result. Cool. So we do want to do a null check back here. We want to pass the path and the mod space. Okay, so this should actually load the files that we want. And maybe we'll just pop a little log here, which is loading. Let's see what we get. Hey, we got the files. So we should see some logs about loading URI or whatever. Right. All the errors are the things that didn't load. Right, yeah, this asynchronous is like going off here. Cool. Yeah, there's no space in the folder, so I'm wondering if like there was a space, would it screw up? That's the only thing. So let's like put a space in here and make sure it works, and if not, then we need to like encode it or whatever. Oh, it still seems happy, so. All right. I mean, it's probably good practice for me to test with a space in the folder just to make sure things don't screw up. But yeah, we're loading environment backgrounds asynchronously, which is a nice little bonus. We don't need that. We don't need that. And I guess if there's no file, we can do this. Cool. That seems good to me. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be it for today as well. We'll go out on a high note. Unlike last week where we went out on an internet connection being cut off. So what we did here was we added this asynchronous loading support into the mod manager and hooked that up to just the environment loading. Well, yeah, basically just the environment loading, but we can hook it up in a bunch more places next time. Because a lot of like the game intro and stuff, a lot of different things use the asynchronous loading. So it's good to get that hooked up. So I'll add hookup, asynchronous, texture loading for environment backgrounds. So yeah, with that, you should be able to load in-game graphics for just about everything. There's environment backgrounds. Yeah, we don't have the hero logo yet. And I was gonna, maybe I'll make it so it doesn't show absolute zero if it can't find one. Yeah, music, small card art for mod variants is a small thing. The game intro actually needs also environment background. There's also end game resources, which is environment background, villain cutouts, hero like grid images and villain team grid images. There's like special images in the end game for that. There's lots of graphics in this game. I'm not sure if you noticed, but when you go through it like this, you realize how many there are. And as Jennifer's documenting it as well, she's been noticing that. Cool, and we still have the new game screen to sort out, but pretty good progress here. So let's commit this, and one last thing is make absolute zero not show up on everyone's space. So I think, the easiest thing to do is just to make that be blank by default. And so that's under prefabs, game view, character panel, I believe. Let's just toss this into the scene. Or maybe it's not. No, it's actually not in this. It's in the layouts. So, but I think it's inactive hero areas. Yeah. But then it's like each one of these is, that's a prefab too. Okay. It's been a while since I dug into this stuff. Character panel location. But that doesn't have, I think those things are not in a convenient way. So maybe we'll do it, check the code. Where's that logo sprite? I guess we can run it and have a look. Logo? Hero logo sprite. It is part of the character panel location. Is it? Yeah. And it just defaults to having that sprite selected. So if we pull up character panel location, too many files open. This, the hero logo sprite. Right, so this set sprite name is probably not going to do anything if it can't find the sprite. I don't know if you can. Maybe I'll just add a property to this, which is bool hide if missing. And then we'll say if, we'll still log the warning, because sure, if hide if missing. just clear the sprite name. And then for the places where we do this, we'll just say true. Oh, I think. Yeah, so now if it doesn't find a sprite in any of the list, it will turn it off by setting the sprite name to null. Let's see if that works. There you go. Oh wait, we're not in the right. We have to be on the other hero turn. Let's go back to... Right, this is... We want that to be blank, basically. And not be showing absolute 0. Cool, that's what we want. So, if hero logo sprite is missing, show nothing instead of absolute 0. Just makes life a little easier, and we still need to add support for actually putting that in, but we'll get there. So that's going to be it for today. We got a lot done. We added support for loading small card graphics, full card graphics, hero cutouts, probably that works for villain cutouts too, asynchronous loading for the environment backgrounds, and a little quick fix there. So lots of nice stuff, yeah. It's always nice to do visual stuff. Like, the most important thing to get working was the code, right? Because otherwise, like, you couldn't actually do anything, but it's not very visually exciting, whereas, you know, loading card graphics is pretty cool. So yeah, so we'll get this support into a build soon. There's some other bug fixes we want to get in as well. So should be next week. We'll try to get that out, and maybe sooner. We'll see. Well, maybe, I guess probably not the weekend, but potentially. And get an example set up as well, so you can start testing your mods out with actual graphics. There's still lots more graphics to do, as you can see on the Trello board. Lots more types of resources to load, but making progress. So next week we'll probably continue along with that, loading more different kinds of graphics and things, and maybe we'll have some documentation ready by then too. So things are coming right along. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. I will be back next week, and I'm at Handelabra Live and other places as usual. So have a great holiday weekend if you're in the States, or a regular weekend if you are elsewhere. Bye for now.